naked truth about health, wellness, and lifestyle. So tonight I'm going to do a little bit of truth about lifestyle. And so one of the funnest things that I think I have explored is what's called the law of attraction. So everybody's heard about The Secret, and there was just so much buzz around The Secret. And I think one of the cool things about The Secret was that it really empowered people to be able to feel like they had some control in their lives. And I know when I watched The Secret, it was really cool. And, you know, there are all these people talking about manifesting. And manifesting is basically the process of creating what you want in your life. And I truly believe that our whole purpose here is creating. And so as creators, co-creators as a part of God, we have all these laws. And it's really interesting because I think I have always felt like if I just knew the laws, I could play by the rules and everything would go so much smoother. But I've never known the laws, or I didn't know that I knew the laws, and I was just kind of splashing around having this experience. And so as I've studied the law of attraction, it was very helpful because I learned that what I think about, I bring about, that I am actually creating my reality as my reality is being created. And so that was really cool, but I'm like, I know there's got to be more. And so as I started listening to different gurus and teachers, you know, they would give me little bits and pieces of these laws, and I thought, well, that's interesting. And then I would try to apply them into my life. And I don't know that I was really seeing the applicability in my life. And it was like one day I would have a really good day. Like I would have a really awesome day at work. Like it seemed like the universe or God was just sending me all these amazing people to work with no limitations, no limiting beliefs, you know, no abundance limitations mindset. And it was just, the flow was awesome. And they really wanted what I had to offer, and it just felt really good. And then some days it felt like literally climbing and clawing up the wall to try to convince people that what I do is really awesome. And those days just felt terrible. And I would just ask my husband, you know, what did I do different to attract the people that were this way one day? And what did I do that I attracted the really awesome people the next day? And well, one of the things I realized what I was doing was kind of beating myself up about doing something wrong, because you're not doing anything wrong, you're not broken, you don't need to fix anything. But I truly believe that we come with these filters, and these filters kind of separate us from these understandings of these laws so that we literally can splash around and have experience. So why do we need to have the experience? We need the experience for the expansion. So what is this expansion thing about? Well, I kind of say, like, you pay good money to go to a movie and get scared or get, you know, thrilled or whatever that feeling is. We pay good money to come into this physical experience to expand the universal knowledge. So I know this is a little deep and maybe a little bit metaphysical for some of you guys, but I hope that a little bit of this takes and resonates, because I'm going to give you some applicability in your life, how to really empower yourself. Because when I was like, okay, law of attraction is only one of basically 16 laws that I know about, then it might help you to navigate your life in a more empowered way. Because at the end of the day, the more power you have and the less of a victim you are, the better able you are to create your day and create your life. So I have a video series on YouTube at Better Living RX, a YouTube channel, and it's called the Dr. Tammy's Life Flip. And I talk about the stages of moving from being a victim to a very empowered, expanded human being. And so I want to tell you about these laws, and I'm going to go through them kind of quickly. I'm not going to expand on them a whole lot. And you can, you know, I'm sure that as you kind of start to understand these, they will make more sense. And I think I might even write a book on these, because I think that there's so much power in understanding this stuff. So I'm just going to kind of start and go through these. And of course, here's the law of attraction. Everybody's heard about the law of attraction. Number 7 on the list. But I'm going to just kind of start down the list. So number 1 is divine oneness. We are all connected. We're connected to each other. So if you're mean to someone else or you flip them off on the road, you are basically flipping off an extension of you. If you're being unkind to someone, you're basically being unkind to a part of yourself, which is a part of God, which we are all connected. Even the Bible says, ye are gods. It's that we are all connected, we are all creators. So everything that we do on our day-to-day basis, we are creating. Now, whether you're deliberately creating or you're creating by default is when you don't know these laws. So it's really fun to deliberately create your life. So there is a myth that we are separate. There's this myth that we're separate from God, but we are all connected, and it is this divine oneness that allows us to have grace with each other and to love each other in a way without fear. So it is this divine oneness that we are connected to God, and we don't have to feel, I used to tell my husband, I felt like God lost my file, and because I just felt so lost and so alone. And when I'd have challenges, I didn't understand what I was doing wrong. I thought I was broken. I need fixed. Maybe I needed medication. Maybe I needed to be in an institution somewhere. I just felt like I had no power, no control. And everyone ultimately wants control. But the control that we fight for is control over others. So what I want you to do is be able to control you, control your life, control your output, so that you have the only control that you will ever ultimately have is over how you feel and your life. So number 2 is the law of vibration. Everything is vibration. From a nerdy science doctor standpoint, I can tell you that sound is a vibration on the tympanic membrane in the ear. The nerves that feed to the brain are actually vibratory nerves of taste, vibratory nerves in the eyes that go to the optic nerve. It is actually vibratory nerves that respond to the sensation that we feel in our hands. Everything is vibration. Sound is vibration. I believe that God created the heavens and the earth through the power of the sound, through a spoken word. And sound is a vibration that actually creates. It's really cool. I saw a video one time that sound waves will actually vibrate through sand, and so sound actually moves matter. Vibration is very important, and when I kind of talk a little bit metaphysically with my friends who kind of get this stuff, I love to talk about vibration because when you're vibrating positively or negatively. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. But when you walk into a room, if somebody's in a really nasty space, that they are vibrating from a very negative energy. And when someone's vibrating very positively. So I think the law of vibration is very powerful because once you get in tune with vibrations, and I love to, and actually I'm working on a book about autism. I love the autistic, basically the understanding of autism, because people with autism are very sensitive to vibration, and they're so sensitive to vibration that lots of sensory input makes them very stressed and nervous and socially awkward, but almost intuitive, almost psychic. And so there's a wonderful gift to that sensitive to vibrations, but it can also, if you don't understand it, can seem very not productive in a human experience. So the law of vibration is super important to basically understand that what you put out vibrates back. It's kind of like sonar, when they when you're fishing and you put out that sonar, it bounces against a fish and it comes back. Everything boomerangs back to you. So if you're being yucky or mean, it's just going to bounce right back to you. And so from the law of creation, when you're creating, if you're creating a negative vibration and it comes back, you're like, why did that person treat me mean? And it's because you were being a jerk. Just tonight I got a little tired. I ate 2 peaches. I shouldn't have, but my husband got these beautiful peaches from the farmer's market, and they were just so delicious. And it was a huge amount of sugar, and I've been really focusing on cutting back my sugar lately, and I ate them and I just got really tired, almost my insulin started crashing. I got really irritable. So be really mindful about the vibration you're putting out when you're what self-care state you're in. And I just started fussing at him, and he was like, okay, and he kind of went in the other room to start watching TV, and I was like, I had to really notice my vibration, and I changed my vibration, and then he started being really sweet back. He's always really sweet, but I just had to be really aware of the vibration I put out. When I go see my mom, who is in assisted living with dementia, if I'm in a bad vibration, if I'm stressed or I've had a bad day, that is not the day that I want to try to go interact with her, because she's so childlike. It's like with that dementia brain, very sensitive to vibration. And children are like that too. So if you work around children or you have children, you know, if you come home in a bad mood, that's when they're always going to be misbehaving, because that's, you come in with this nasty vibration and they just soak it up and like give it right back to you. So law of vibration, very important. Law of action. Now this is an interesting one. I'm going to make sure my video's going. Hello, yes, cool. And I can't see your comments right now because I have to flip it so you can see my writing, and I know my writing's really small because I wanted to fit all this in. So I'm sorry, I'll look at your comments later and respond, I promise. But the law of action, this is an interesting one because we believe that our manifestations, our doing, comes through action. And this was a tough one for me, and I just realized this not too long ago, that it is not through action that you create. And you're like, what? If I didn't go to work, I wouldn't make money, and if I didn't make money, I'd lose my house. So here's what it is. The law of action comes through inspiration. So when you get quiet and when you're at peace and when you're, that's why they say if you do what you love, you'll never work a day in your life, because that action is then inspired and the universe will line up events that will boost your results to the nth degree. So like when I said, you know, some days it seems like the people that come to me they're not really interested in what I do, and it feels really yucky because I feel like, you know, I just talked to 5 new people today. Sales, and I'd be like, you need this, you need to get your hormones balanced, you're gonna die if you don't get your diabetes under control, you know, you're just going along in this medical system, and you know, and so I get really kind of into that action, and it's like, no, I have to relax, I have to play my guitar, I have to meditate, I have to be in a good space so that I can be in a vibration to attract the people who like what I do, who think that hormone balance is beautiful and wonderful, and you know, people who want to change the way they eat and the way they think, and you know, how they're living their lives. And so people are open to that, who want coaching. Those are the people that I want to pull in, but that's not through action. That is through inspiration. So it shouldn't really be the law of action. Actually, I think it should be the law of inspiration, because through that, when you are so inspired, you can't help but take action. And when you take action through inspiration, it is a beautiful thing. But when you take action through sheer willpower, I hate the word willpower because willpower never works. And when you are forcing yourself to do something and you're trying to get through something with sheer willpower, never works, because it is paddling upstream. So when you actually take inspiration into account, then you can relax, and then you can wait for the universe to deliver all the really cool things that it has. The law of correspondence. This is, my understanding of this is that we are spiritual beings having this physical experience, right? We pay good money to come into these human forms, to splash around, to know contrast, to know what we don't want so we know what we do want, and we get to have this physical experience, this visceral, tactile, vibratory experience. But we forget it's all vibration, and we think it's just this, you know, flesh and bone, but we are actually vibrating, and there are molecules on, when we look under an electron microscope, there's more space than there's actually matter. And so it's really interesting the way we think things are. But this law of correspondence is that we are spiritual beings corresponding with physical beings, corresponding with our spiritual self, connected to God, connected to all, that has all-knowing. And you know, really the truth is kind of like Dorothy's slippers. You always know the way home. You're not broken. You don't need fixed. We all have all the answers that we need access to. We just kind of forget. We put these filters on and we forget. So we are literally always corresponding. You can say that that's prayer. You can say that's talking to God. You can say that's talking to the universe. You can say that's talking to your higher self. But we are constantly corresponding. When you pinch yourself off in correspondence from that higher power, from God, then you really find yourself flailing around. So if you're a Christian and you believe that way, you know, I would say be very connected in that spiritual belief that you have, because that law of correspondence says if you pinch yourself off from that, you're going to feel very lost, you're going to feel very victimized, and the things that show up in your life are going to be basically creating by default. If you want to deliberately create, you have to stay connected with your source. And the very last one on the list is basically the law of manifestation, which is connected to source, which basically number 15 says the law of bliss. You have to be happy. And I believe that one of the best ways to get to happy is gratitude. So if you can get into an attitude of gratitude and get into that bliss state, then you will manifest almost instantaneously. But it is that correspondence with that source energy that's going to keep you in line with that. The law of cause and effect. You know, it's really funny because my husband always says that one of the kind of cute little quirky things about me is that I have a really blurred cause and effect. So if I eat if I look at those peaches, I don't really think, oh my gosh, in an hour I'm going to be grumpy and feel bad and all that. You know, and peaches are healthy, right? But I didn't need to eat too massive. They're like grapefruits, basically. You know, and so my cause and effect is blurred sometimes because I'm like, man, this peach is so juicy and it's so good. And I'm just like, you know, almost making love to this peach, you know. And it's like my cause and effect is like, Tammy, stop it, because, and that's not about willpower, but that's just plain old cause and effect, you know, and sometimes that gets a little blurry with me. So this is probably one of my laws that I really have had the most challenges with, because it is literally whatever you put out there is going to have some effect. And so that's part of manifestation. So if you put out something positive, you're going to create something really positive. And if you put out something negative, you create negative. And I'm not saying that's bad. I'm just saying it's a very polar thing. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. The law of compensation. I believe that what this means is that we are constantly moving abundance around, and that there is no lack of compensation. There is abundance. There's enough food to feed everyone on this planet. There is enough energy. There's enough money. There's enough love. There is no lack. And so we have this compensation that is basically just moving around all the time. Of course, the law of attraction, what you think about is what you bring about. Manifestation, you know, what you put out good stuff, you create from a positive place. But it's just one of all these laws. So just put that into perspective as you're kind of trying to navigate this, okay? Number 8 is perpetual transmutation of energy. Everything is just energy. So when I work with clients and I talk to them about making an investment in themselves, and when I define the gap, I define the need, and I let them know that I have something that fits that need. You know, it's really interesting because, you know, it does take money and resources to do what I do, to pay my staff, to have the testing and all the things that I do. And if I can help them understand that it's just energy, that money's just energy, because they stay so focused on the energy, you know, the whole time. Sometimes when I'm working with people, they're like, well, how much does it cost? Well, how much does it cost to come see you? And I'm like, you know, let's just focus on your needs and how to fit those needs, because if you have the need, there will always be the energy available to fit that need. But what happens is when people try to sell you something that you don't need because they think that you need that, then that's when it gets a little off and a little wonky and the energy's not quite even, and then you kind of feel taken advantage of, or those kinds of things. So it's really important that transmutation of energy is very evenly dispersed. And you know when it's not, right? You know when you've done something for someone and, you know, they just keep taking. And, you know, one of the things that I have challenges with is setting boundaries and limits. And my husband is an international speaker for parenting. And, you know, one of the things he's always telling me with our son is that I have challenges. He calls it parental guilt, that I'll just let my son have lots of leeway with things. And then when I set those boundaries, I'm perceived kind of as a bad guy. Or like at work sometimes with employees, you know, I try to be nice and try to be liked, and I'm not really being mindful of my energy. And then when I set, you know, pretty rigid boundaries with things, they think I'm not nice, or they think I'm like, you know, a bitch or something like that. So you just have to be mindful of that energy distribution. The law of relativity. I love the law of relativity. I remember my dad teaching me about the law of relativity. Einstein talked about the law of relativity a lot, and there have been, you know, Stephen Hawking, some very progressive thinkers who've talked about the law of relativity. And basically, to me, my understanding is that everything is relative. Everyone is right from where they are. Even Hitler, who did mass genocide. I'm not saying that was right. I'm saying that he in his mind believed it was right because he had justification. So everyone justifies everything they do. And I always say everyone steals, everyone lies, everyone sins, everyone, you can act like you're, the most perfect, like you never have done anything that was unequal in the energy distribution, if you want to call it that. I'm not going to call it stealing or lying, but you took energy and pulled it in one direction where it should have been more evenly dispersed. Everyone does that with justification from what they believe is right. There's a great little video I watched on Netflix, and it was called, I think, The Science of Lying. And they were talking about all these gray zones with people who, tell mistruths or whatever, that if they feel justified, it's kind of like the vending machine. When the vending machine gives you some free stuff, there's like this justification of the karma of the vending machine, that when something comes out, of all the times that you put your money in and nothing came out, you have this justification that that's yours, but it's really not, right? So that's literally stealing, but you justify that that's okay. And I'm not saying that's right or wrong, because we've all done that. I'm just saying, be aware. It's this conscious awareness that allows you to step into these laws and use them to your advantage so that you'll have a really empowered life, right? Okay, the law of polarity. And I love to put this in not right or wrong, because I don't believe that there's right or wrong. I believe there's positive and negative polarity that pulls you closer to wanted or closer to unwanted. And there are two ends to every stick. In the emotional world, in the thinking world, as we are, these human beings in this physical experience, my husband teaches this as love and fear. There's two primary emotions. It's either love or fear. I like to say love or noise. If it's not loving, then it's on the other end of the pole, and it's going to attract very different things than love is going to attract. Fear is going to attract really maybe some unwanted things for you. So just be aware of the polarity of everything. I talk about assume positive intent, or API, all the time. And when you assume positive intent in someone, you are putting out a polarity of love. And so you're going to, law of attraction, you're going to pull that back, right? So if you are always assuming that love is everywhere, you are looking for the positive end of the stick. Because I'll tell you, it's my experience that there is a positive and a negative polarity on every experience. You can find the negative in anything if you look for it. I have people that come to me and they don't feel good, and they're like, I know something's really wrong, and if I look long enough, I'll find something wrong with them, right? But if they come to me and they're like, I just want to feel better, and I can help them through a pathway, and we stop focusing on some terrible disease that's going to kill them, our focus shifts and we really start moving into a different realm. So I love the polarity law, and it's really important to be aware of that. Okay, the law of rhythm. I hope you all are staying with me and this is cool and you're liking this, because I just think this stuff is so cool. And like I say, I probably need to write a book. Somebody's probably already written a book on all this stuff, and I probably need to find that book. It might even be called the Bible. I don't know. But it's a little cryptic in the Bible, so I'm trying to break it down for you, like real, so you get it, because this is how I get it. So the law of rhythm and cycles. And it's really interesting, because what I find is that there are cycles to everything. And so if you have a bad day at work, tomorrow will probably be better. If you're in sales, if you don't sell today, it all kind of cycles. And there are cycles with the seasons. I find that a lot of what brings people into me for like hormones and wellness is summertime and bathing suits and bikinis. They want to look good. So I tend to attract people who want wellness more in the spring and summer. In the wintertime, they're all covered up in their coats and nobody sees them in there. And unless they feel really bad, they don't really care how they look, and they're eating all these Christmas cookies and stuff. So, then they kind of just feel like crap through the winter, and then they come out like hibernating bears, and then, they want what I have to offer. So there are cycles, and I have to kind of ride that energy wave of those cycles sometimes. Okay, the law of gender. So, the book, Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus, that is a very real thing. And I believe that part of the choice that we make when we come into this physical existence is to have a male energy or a female energy. From a hormone aspect, my day job. Testosterone is very strong in the men, estrogen and progesterone very strong in the women. So this makes us very emotional, and this makes us very logical. It makes guys a little more logical. So we have logic brain and emotion brain kind of come together. So in this experience, in this particular experience, if you believe that we have more than one shot at this life experience, which I do. I don't know if you do, but I believe that in this experience I chose to be a female. So I chose to have very emotional energy, and I get a whole different set of experiences and creation possibilities based on being more of an emotional thinker than being a logical thinker. So I think that this is a very real thing, and I think that men and women have to kind of equal out their energy together. And I think that's what relationship does for us a lot, is because I know with my husband, he's very logical and very emotional, and a lot of times we're able to, when we can navigate that and distribute the energy appropriately, we're like a superpower together, and it's a really good thing. So the law of opposites. I love the law of opposites because this will trip you up. The law of opposites says that whenever you want something, everything that's contrasted about that will come into being. So like when I decide that I'm going to launch a new business, or when I decide I'm going to launch a new venture, it's like everything seems to go to crap. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this? Is the universe trying to tell me I'm not supposed to do this? Well, the law of opposites is, okay, this is a little crazy, but it is the opposite of that. When that stuff shows up, that's actually telling you that is exactly what you should be doing. So when that contrast shows up and when things don't quite work out right, that's how you are aligning your creation, kind of molding your creation. If you were making an ice sculpture, chiseling away, and you see this big block over here, you chisel that away, and you don't judge that block over there as bad. You just say, okay, I want that out of the way. I want that out of the way. Oh, that looks good, so I'm going to do that. So instead of just stepping into that and moving the energy around, we want to judge it as bad, and we want to judge it as, oh my gosh, maybe I'm not supposed to do this. And, from a perspective of when we look at, quote, successful people, what we see is that they are able to have pervasiveness. They are, they just stay the course. They are persistent. And persistence is when you really want to manifest something and you stay the course no matter what starts showing up. And so you really have to be passionate about something sometime to stay persistent with it, because the bigger the manifestation it's going to be, the more powerful, the more, fun, then you're going to have more contrast show up, more of the opposite. So the law of opposites is actually a good thing. I mean, not good or bad, but it actually moves you closer to your goal. So it's super awesome when you understand that. But when you're just like, you feel like a victim and you feel like, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be able to do anything. When I write a book, that first 10 pages is always the hardest, and it's like, oh my gosh, it's just like nothing seems to fit together, and people call me and distractions, and it's like once I kind of get over the hill, or like when I learned to play the guitar last year, it was like I got calluses on my fingers. I'm like, this hurts, this is not fun, this doesn't feel good. So everything has the opposites that show up, but it's so worth it because now I can play the guitar, and it's super cool. Okay, the law of detachment. I know this is going a little long, but I hope you're having fun with these because I love this stuff. So the law of detachment. This is a super tricky one too. Kind of as we get down here, these get a little trickier. So it's really important that you listen to these and understand these because they will trip you up. And I'm going to make sure I'm still recording. Okay, I'm good. It's saying like a low battery, so I think I'm okay so far, but make sure I'm plugged in here. And then I'm good. Okay, so thank you for your patience. I'm almost there. The law of detachment says that, now this is not that when you want something, say you want $1 million, or you want a beach house, or you want a BMW convertible. It doesn't mean that you should not want that, but the problem is when you want that, and your beliefs don't match up. You don't believe that you could have $1 million. It's funny, I was talking to a doctor the other night, and he's in an insurance practice, and I was telling him how my practice works, and he said, oh my God, he said, people in my area would never do that. And I'm like, I used to think that too. But, it's like all about your beliefs. So the law of detachment says that you don't inject resistance into something you want. But the problem is if you don't believe that you deserve it or good enough to have that thing or whatever your limiting beliefs are, when you start injecting resistance into something you want, it pushes it further away. Law of attraction, right? Pushes it right out. You know, the universe always says yes. So if you say, I want more money, the universe says, yes, you want more money. So you're always wanting more money. The money can't come when you're in the wanting of the money. So you have to be in that energy of abundance before the money can come, which is the last one, which is manifestation follows belief. I'm going to talk about that in a little more depth in just a minute. But the law of detachment says that if you inject resistance into something that you want, you need to back away from it, because you're injecting resistance. So it's not really detachment saying, I don't care about that thing. It's saying, you know what, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to focus on being happy for a little while. I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to trust that the universe is going to deliver that to me, because remember, the law of action is actually the law of inspiration. So I'm going to wait till I have the inspiration. And I don't believe there's any such thing as procrastination. I believe that it is perfectly okay for you to sit back just a little bit, relax, bliss out, and wait for the inspiration to come. Because when you're trying to do it all through action and forcing it, it never works. So the law of detachment actually just says, not that I'm going to detach from that thing, but I'm going to detach from the resistance of that thing. So if I don't believe that I can have $1 million, I'm just going to detach from the resistance. And I'm going to say, you know what? I know the universe is going to take care of me. I know that I have put everything through the contrast that I've experienced into my vibrational escrow, and that is all available to me as soon as I move the resistance. So I'm going to go play my guitar. I'm going to go snuggle with my husband on the couch. And that doesn't mean never do anything ever again, but that means do things that inspire you. We get so domesticated. I love, there's a book I read one time talking about the domestication of the human experience. And so we let people tell us what we should and should not do versus following the inspiration for the creation that we want to have. So law of detachment just says, chill the freak out. Okay, so I love the law of detachment. It's a really important one, and you can't leave that out. The law of bliss says nothing is more important than your happiness. So if you are not vibrating positively, then you're going to attract all sorts of things into your life that you might not want. So nothing is important than you being happy. You know, I tell my son, like, if he gets in trouble or something at school, when I was a kid, if I got in trouble at school, I got beat twice when I got home for what I got in trouble for at school. And it's like, I tell my son, I'm like, you know, you made some choices. There's a cause and effect with things, you know. Hey, there's, you know, some natural consequences. I'm like, I love you just the same. I love you unconditionally. I love you no matter what you do. Love and fear, right? It's all about love. I'm not going to do anything to stress him out more or make him feel more fearful. And, you know, from that aspect, just having that bliss and having that beauty and that wonder and a loving relationship. You know, my husband said in a lecture the other day, he said, think about who your favorite people are. Think about who your favorite teacher was when you were little. They were the ones who were just blissed out happy, that loved you unconditionally, that didn't judge you. In fact, I think there should be another law up here that says law of quit judging things. But anyway, the law of bliss just says, don't judge things. Hey, maybe that is the law of don't judge things. It's just be happy. Nothing's more important than your happiness. And if you're thinking about a thought, even obsessive thinking about something really scary or yucky, stop it. Go think about something else. And I know it's hard when you have an obsessive brain, but, you know, go do something else. Take a walk, go exercise, take a nap, meditate, whatever you have to do, but get in your bliss state, because nothing good happens when you're vibrating from that negative state. And the last one, and you guys have been so patient, is the law of manifestation. And the law of manifestation says that manifestation follows belief. And so many times we want to say, I'll see it, what? I'll see it when, I'll believe it when I see it. Believe it when I see it. But it's just the opposite. It's I'll see it when I believe it. So you have to believe that something is possible. So again, like the law of detachment, if you're injecting disbelief that that is possible, then it's not going to happen. So you have to remove yourself from it. Think about the things that are going right in your life. Focus on gratitude of the things that are going right in your life. Remove yourself, detach yourself from that thing, and then that thing can come in. But you have to believe it's possible before it shows up. But so many times we wait for the manifestation to decide how we're going to feel about it. And that is really creating by default. It is not actively, deliberately creating. So if you want to actively, deliberately create a life that you love, these are the laws of the universe. And I am no guru, but I think that these are very, very applicable. And I wish someone a long time ago had said, this is the way it works. Just like gravity, just like any other law that we have to play by in our physicality, these are the laws of our spiritual manifestation here. So I love you all very much. I hope this was helpful. If you've stayed this long, gosh, this is a really long video tonight, and I'm in a little new space with all these lights and stuff, so it's really warm. So if you've stayed this long, please click this share button. Don't forget the share button, and show some love, and give me some comments and some feedback, and tell me if you enjoy these things or the things that you enjoy the most, and I'll try to share more of those things. I usually do science or hormones or health. So whatever you guys are interested in, let me know, and I love to do these topics for you. Okay, I do these videos every day for free. I just want to help you, empower you, and help you deliberately create the best life possible. All right, see you tomorrow.